Once Luffy's fruit was revealed to be a Hito Hito Nomi instead of a Paramecia, it gave us room to speculate that other devil fruits in the series may also have hidden secrets. Additionally, Luffy's transformation into Gear 5 revealed some things that the reader has seen before, such as the white scarf, which gives us an idea of where to start looking. It could be that there's one Hito for each category or something like that, so Luffy's Gomu for Paramecia, Blackbeard's Yami for Logia, and Enel's Goro for Zone. Or maybe it ties to the gods referenced in the Skypiea arc, so the forest god, rain god, earth god, and sun god. We know that scenes like this are intricately woven with detail. For example, at the Skypiea scene where they mention the gods, it's raining, which it never usually is in One Piece. We also see a flame, we also see some forest, and we also see a beheading, which seems to pertain to sun gods in One Piece, as I've discussed in previous videos, particularly around serpents. The Elbaf arc recently revealed that lightning and fire are the Adam Tree's weakness, an absolute nuclear drop thanks to Loki's brother Haradine, who just so happens to have entered a tournament to get a fire devil fruit and become the king of Elbaf. So, what does this tell us about the royal devil fruit of Elbaf and Loki's fruit? And is it actually time for our boy Slim Shady to make his comeback? For years, One Piece fans have speculated that Prince Loki of Elbaf will play a huge role in the endgame of the story, and now we're finally seeing it manifest. But what if we're looking into the wrong character when it comes to the royal devil fruit that Loki was supposed to inherit? What if the true wielder of the fruit is actually Enel? It's funny because when the drop first came out, I've been in the theory sphere for years, and so I just presumed everyone was going to be talking about this. But months later and no one has, and when I looked into it, it turns out there's some absolute massive reveals we've got coming up relating to this whole situation. The idea dives deep into the hidden connections between Enel, Elbaf, and some secrets of Norse symbolism that Oda has woven into the story. If Enel's return is truly coming, then this could be the missing piece that changes the circumstances and leads to the main war. Stick around as we decode Oda's foreshadowing, analyze hidden clues, and unravel the real truth behind the Elbaf royal devil fruit. Leave a comment with some hate if you think Enel definitely isn't going to return, or whether or not you think he's connected to Elbaf, and we'll break this down together. Don't forget to like and sub and hit the bell if you love the deep dive One Piece series, and let's crack on.
Ever wonder how Din Din can drop secrets like this and still be alive to tell the tale with Cypher Pole and Oda's henchmen always on the lookout? It's because we use private internet access, potentially the greatest invention since sliced bread. Tesla, Nick Fury, Ned Stark, all of these men would have used private internet access if they knew what was coming. Imagine you're sending a message to a friend. Not just any friend, but a friend like Butters.
I've got some splish splash, splish splash in bowl.
Nowadays, a VPN is the only way. It's like putting a message in a secure briefcase that it can only be opened by the person that you want to open it. A VPN encrypts your internet connection. That way, hackers, government censors, and Crunchyroll usurpers don't have ways to profit from your private and personal tastes. I, for one, like ramen, but that doesn't mean I want to be recommended books written in ramen. Signing up for PIA is completely risk-free. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee with 24-hour customer support. And right now, you can get 83% off plus 4 free months by using the link below. That's only $2.03 a month. Thanks again to Private Internet Access for joining the team and helping us find the One Piece. And without further ado, let's get back to solving mysteries.
One of the fruits that's been on my mind, particularly since Luffy's Sun God fruit reveal, like I mentioned, is Enel's. Enel has the Rumble fruit, despite Enel's aptitude being for lightning. The distinction here being that thunder and lightning are different, right? Enel was never really defeated either, but instead just kind of got bored and flew off to his idea of utopia. Oda explicitly surrounded Enel in god symbology and references to the heavens, but there are some strange features about Enel that match our protagonist Luffy. When Luffy entered Gear 5, we began to hear the drums of liberation, a feature that's played a major role ever since. This is reinforced when during that whole scene in Wano there were people actually playing drums with the Tamui symbol on. The Tamui symbol means like heavenly or is in association with heaven. Ironically, Enel also fires electric bolts out of his Taiko Tamui drums from time to time. Enel made several transformations, one of which was a type of Buddha, and it just so happened to be adorned with a huge white scarf like Luffy. At one point, Luffy's form was described to be like a Buddha. I doubt it's coincidence that in these forms they both do the exact same pose. Oda even had Enel restart his own heart in a super similar style to the way Luffy did it. Furthermore, I've speculated before, revival is actually a side effect of having a Hito Hito Nomi. Luffy's Gomo is associated with the number 5-6, and Enel's Goro is also associated with the same 5-6, 5 meaning go and 6 meaning row, which is further highlighted by Enel's birthday being May the 6th, so 5-6, the day after Luffy's. So the numbers here do clue us in that there is a deeper connection going on. Now it gets even deeper when we consider Luffy was immune to Enel's lightning abilities because Luffy's made of rubber. However, as we know, he's not actually made of rubber, allowing feats such as throwing huge bolts of lightning during Wano. From this we can infer that Enel's fruit is actually not lightning or thunder, but something else, something the song god Nika is immune to. The similarities between Luffy and Enel tell us that the fruit is likely a Hito Hito, and considering the name Sun God Nika, I think it's safe to assume Enel's devil fruit is similarly a god devil fruit. This fits with other theories surrounding the idea that Chopper has the forest god fruit, as his fruit is not only a Hito, it's actually called the Hito Hito Nomi. And also, as a quick aside, just tying back into the drums, obviously Chopper is from Drum Island, right? So there does seem to be a relationship between drums, gods, and devil fruits. There is a deeper meaning behind the fact that the Hito Hito Nomis have associations with gods, but Hito means human, and devil fruits are like the technology between humans and gods, right? Like the Promethean flame, humans attain a power that's too much, which is devil fruits, and then they end up being the same power that destroys them. So there's relevance there, but I guess it's not important to this particular theory. So in summary, I'd go as far as to say it's very likely that Enel actually has a god fruit shown by the divine themes surrounding him, such as the design that he has strongly evoking the image of the classical Japanese thunder deity Raijin. The elongated earlobes also resemble many depictions of Buddha, and of course, Monkey D. Luffy being Enel's natural enemy due to his devil fruit's immunity is highly appropriate, as the family of D is referred to as God's natural enemy, and Enel believes himself to be a god, which Oda even goes as far as to say his favourite food is apples, as in the fruit of the Garden of Eden, right? So I don't think there's many people sort of speculating whether or not Enel's supposed to depict a god-type figure. He definitely is. The question is whether or not this god-type figure is relevant to the narrative, such as Luffy's transformation. In my previous video, I discussed the intimate ties between Elbaf and Skypiea, particularly Berka, which is where Enel is from. Elbaf and Berka are shown in a ton of ways to be deeply connected, likely via the Bridge of the Higher West, facilitating a lot of shared technology and knowledge. So Enel, a Berkan, most definitely is going to have ties to Elbaf in some form at some point, which then brings him into the Royal Devil Fruit. But as I say, if you want more details on them specifics, then check out the previous video on Asgard. Now, when Mother Carmel was in Elbaf, she was feeding intelligence to the world government. During this period, Loki was born, which was news around Mother Carmel's local village. Loki is the Prince of Elbaf, tying him to the duty of protecting the royal devil fruit, a duty traditionally upheld by the kings of Elbaf. Considering Mother Carmel's activity at the time, it's likely she informed the world government that Loki had been born, and that the royal devil fruit may soon be passed down. 10 years later, Loki pretty much takes over the underworld as a child, making friends with animals and demonstrating immense strength, much like we are shown with Odin and Luffy's formative years. Now, this is where it gets a little weirder. 39 years after that, Harold is killed by Loki, and Loki is implied to have eaten the royal devil fruit. What's weird about this is that Enel was born 39 years ago. Perhaps a coincidence, but it begins a pattern between the two once we see that Loki was born 63 years ago, which is a flip on the 3-9. All sounds a bit reachy at the moment, but it starts to come together when we consider the fact that Enel ate the Goro only a couple years before Shanks went after Loki and tied him to the Adam Tree. There could be some sort of mix-up going on whereby Shanks thought he was tying up Loki, who has the royal devil fruit, when really Enel has escaped to the moon with it. The royal devil fruit of Elbaf being Enel's Goro. Goro fruit is foreshadowed when Harudin says, "Have you ever seen a giant with a Logia?" The parallel in Dressrosa goes deeper when we consider Loki's brother left Elbaf to enter a tournament. Seems a bit random until you consider the fact the prize was the Mera Nomi. Now, why is the flame fruit important to giants? Well, it's because it's one of the weaknesses of the Adam Tree, just like lightning. The parallel is all but confirmed when Harudin says, "With the Mera fruit, I'll have the power to become the king of Elbaf." And a little extra detail here is it's Loki, aka Joy Boy, whose brother, Haradine, goes to fetch the Mera, which was the fruit of Ace, which is Luffy, aka Joy Boy's brother. So you can see what Oda's done there. But in summary, what we're saying is Haradine left Elbaf, sailed the sea to Dressrosa, entered the tournament so he could essentially attain a devil fruit that specifically has a weakness to the Adam Tree. Now, this completely seems to reflect the situation with Loki, because Loki went out to sea. There's relevance to him and the Royal Devil Fruit, and interestingly, now we've seen him use his Thunder Bagua, it shows that he can produce lightning without a Devil Fruit. Now, Harold was explicitly said to be killed by Loki over his Royal Devil Fruit. Death like this is rare in One Piece, so we can tell there is a reason Oda brings it up. Seeing as the conflict surrounds an important Devil Fruit, the reader can infer that Harold's death ties into this fruit. In other words, the fruit got reincarnated, as is the way with devil fruits when the user dies in One Piece, and for some reason there's importance around this particular event. The idea is added to by the fact that Loki went to sea for unknown reasons, which the reader can infer was to search for the Royal Devil Fruit, ergo he didn't actually eat it himself. Now, Enel conquered Skypiea 8 years ago, which is the same year he ate the Goro, telling us that he conquered Skypiea specifically to find the devil fruit, and additionally suggesting that the fruit actually reincarnates at Elbaf, which might be tied to the giant jack. Particularly when you think about the fact that there's 4 god devil fruits, then you've got an Adam tree, Eve tree, whale tree, and giant jack, all 4 of which are the only living giant trees or plants on the planet. Some might ask at this point how Enel would know that the devil fruit respawns in Skypiea, but it's worth bearing in mind that somehow Enel knew how to build the Arc Maxim, somehow he knew about the fairy birth, and this isn't just like a little bit of information. This is Oda alluding to the fact that Enel's getting some information from somewhere, it's just the reader is not partial to that information. So it's not a stretch to believe that Enel would have some deep or hidden knowledge surrounding a super important fruit, particularly if it's the one that he requires to power his people's technology. And in my previous video, I did speculate that we're going to find out some of this stuff, or touch on it at least, very soon as we go higher up the Adam Tree, and it will be soon, I think. The Elbafians believe Loki killed his father and stole the devil fruit, but recently Loki suggested not everything is as it appears. Ja Rule was present when Loki supposedly killed Harold, and it resulted with him having a sword embedded in his head. Interestingly, this mirrors what we saw with Ja Rule's counterpart, Jorul, and Big Mom. Jorul called her the god of destruction and attacked Linlin, but was easily beaten and subsequently died. We know for certain that conflict did take place during whatever happened, as Jorul now has a sword embedded deep into his head. Notably, Loki doesn't use a sword, so it could be Harold's weapon that's embedded in Ja Rule's head. This would mean one of two things. Either Ja Rule is hiding something, or the strike to Ja Rule's head has affected his memory, like we saw with Big Mom and the amnesia stuff. The fact Loki left straight after, and as such no one's spoken to him about what actually took place, seems to be pretty convenient circumstances from Oda, again adding to the idea that something more went down. We saw this cool panel when an entire village had to be sacrificed when a branch was cut off the Adam Tree to stop fire spreading. I thought about whether this might be relevant, and I checked in the chapter, and fascinatingly the following panels are literally Ja Rule getting slapped in the sword that's stuck in his head before Usopp makes a joke about pulling out Excalibur. So I would not be surprised at all if this fire was caused 14 years ago by the same conflict that killed Harold. Okay, so far we can be sure that there's more to the Royal Devil Fruit than we think. Enel might be connected, and Enel certainly is connected to Elbaf. Through Oda's divine imagery surrounding Enel, we can speculate that Enel has deeper ties to gods than just the appearance, the secret to which might lie in his devil fruit. After all, as I mentioned, it did power the Maxim and take it all the way to the moon, and it allowed Enel to revive himself and change into Buddha forms. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Now, there's something about the Royal Devil Fruit that doesn't fit what we know about devil fruits so far in the story. The readers were told the Royal Devil Fruit of Elbaf is passed down from generation to generation. So, does this mean the giants have some way of containing a devil fruit's respawn once the devil fruit user dies? Weirdly enough, we have one example of devil fruits tying to Elbaf, and it just so happens to have been respawned in a controlled manner. I'm talking about Carmel's Sorrow Fruit. Big Mum ate Carmel and subsequently had the exact same abilities Mother Carmel had, telling us Big Mum gained her abilities from consuming a devil fruit user. Something similar happened with Blackbeard when he took Whitebeard's fruit, so is this the same secret used by the Elbathian royal family? The dilemma is, either the royal family of Elbaf are consuming each other, which is not very likely, or they are not actually eating the fruit. In case of the latter, we ask, why was Loki beefing with his old man over the fruit? Elbaf is renowned for not being under the rule of the world government, but considering all the allusions to a change in era, then perhaps Elbaf had in fact been infiltrated by the world government, and Harold became compromised. This seems more in line with the themes of One Piece and also fits well with the idea of the status quo being a lie, such as with Kyros in Dressrosa. Operations by Carmel confirm attempts by the world government to infiltrate Elbaf for the past 100 years. Considering what we've said in this video so far, it's most likely that despite Carmel's untimely demise, the world government has in fact managed to infiltrate Elbaf and manipulate Harold. This is strongly evidenced by the fact God's Knights can somehow appear at Elbaf using the summoning circle connected to the Abyss, something that was presumably impossible before, considering Elbaf's status of not being affiliated under the world government. We've seen experiments to recreate giants in a few forms, demonstrating giants are not only sought after by the world government, but are also very powerful, highlighted by Queen's creation of the numbers. As I mentioned, the Abyss seems to connect to the summoning circle, so knowing Oda, it's possible this foreshadows that Harold was interacting with the Abyss. The incident between Harold and Loki took place 14 years ago, which is the same year there was a ton of movement from the world government, such as the experiments performed on Ginny. If you're familiar with my Nuzjuro vid, you'll know I've spoke about Orochi and how his influence under Kaido foreshadows Nuzjuro's influence under Imu. I think it's most likely that this is what's happening with the Harold and Loki situation. Harold had probably been compromised by the world government, perhaps he was tempted by the Abyss, which would explain why he'd attack Ja Rule. I think Harold ate the devil fruit when it was forbidden. Loki killed Harold, who was about to go on a rampage, displacing the royal devil fruit. I think then Enel knew about what happened and went in search for it, subsequently finding and eating the Goro no Mi. Considering the reveal of the mural, I think it's more likely now than ever that we'll see the Maxim again, and it might be what's used to destroy Uranus. So does this mean Enel is coming back? As I say, if it is going to happen, now is the time, so fingers crossed. Okay, so in summary, this theory explores the idea that Enel's Goro is not just a powerful Logia, but actually the royal devil fruit of Elbaf. The argument stems from parallels mainly between Norse mythology and Elbaf's history, as well as this whole Haradine situation, which is wild. One main element to this theory is that Enel's fruit is actually a Hito no Mi, and Oda might reveal that the other gods Oda mentioned in Skypiea connect to other Hito no Mis. I predict that Harold was compromised via the Abyss. He was convinced to eat the raw devil fruit, which is usually forbidden. Ja Rule guards the fruit as a duty, hence how he gets the sword in his head. Loki doesn't use swords, right? So the sword in his head affects Ja Rule's memory, but it will probably be removed. That's why Usopp called it Excalibur, right? Because the sword and the stone. Removing it will give us the confirmation that Loki killed Harold because he ate the fruit that was about to go on a rampage. This is what caused the fire on the branch that had to be cut off. Because Loki killed Harold, the fruit is displaced for the first time in probably over 800 years, potentially thousands of years. And once Enel becomes aware, he goes after it. He then conquers Skypiea, discovers it, and eats it. Okay, and with that, guys, I'm going to leave it there. We've got loads more videos coming, so I'll probably keep touching on this whole Berka, Skypiea, Elbaf relationship and just adding to it. But it wouldn't surprise me if we get some pretty big, like, surprise confirmations soon. If any of you are familiar with how the chapters work during the seasons and throughout the year, then we are actually expecting something quite big pretty soon, so that's cool. The Discord is absolutely popping with theorists at the moment and real, like, just sound people. So jump in, get involved, share some music if you want, share your theories, share your thoughts, do whatever. Apologies if the quality was a bit off on the last edit. That was us, like, trialing a new editor and stuff like that, and he's got better since, so don't worry. If you've made it this far, you've won a deck of cards signed by Hawkins, so just let me know in the comments where you want it delivered. Make sure you're cool to your neighbours, stroke a cat, and toodle Pippenstein.